Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Brave to be Multipassionate podcast. I'm your host, Kate Kim. And today, you're about to enter the world of my friend Estelle, who's extremely curious in life of languages and cultures. And you'll hear all about her take on how she's navigating her multi-passionate life. Hope you enjoy the episode. Estelle, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you today because I believe that we need to hear more of different stories, and I wanted to bring you on because I want to hear your journey, what it was like to be growing up as a multi-passionate and how you're embracing the person you're born to be. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Estelle. I'm currently living in Central Oregon in Bend. If you've ever been here before, you know it's an incredibly beautiful place. There's lots to do in nature. I'm from the Bay Area in a little town called Sonoma. There's lots of wine, lots of cheese, lots of sunshine, birds singing,
Right.
touristy. It's a very touristy place. That's where I grew up for most of my life. I spent 5.5 years growing up in Mississippi, northern Mississippi. Then we moved back to California. When I was 21, I decided to move to Shanghai. Spent about 6 years living there. I taught kindergarten. And then my husband and I moved back in early 2020, and we didn't really know where we want to live. So we traveled around the States a bit, just checking out different areas. We were like traveling / finding a place to live.
Yeah.
And we really liked Bend. So
I heard only good things about that place.
yeah.
But Shanghai, that's crazy. Tell us more. Okay, let's go back to your childhood.
Okay.
What was your journey growing up, and what prompted you to move to Shanghai and all that stuff?
Yeah. So I think I'm just a passionate person in general. And I'm interested like in so many different things. Like something I could learn about like just yesterday, it could be like a new passion of mine. Like all of a
Yes.
sudden and I want to learn about it. I knew that I wasn't alone and feeling that way. Like I knew I had other friends like that, but I also recognized that that wasn't as common, and a lot of other people had like a singular focus, or they wouldn't feel as passionately about something as I did, like all of a sudden, like out of nowhere kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think because I recognized that wasn't as normal, I tried to tone it down a bit, and I was like, no, like there has to be one thing that you're interested in. Like you can't possibly like love all these things so much, right? So let's just try to pick one and go with it. It's only in recent years where I've kind of rejected that. Like, if that's who you are, that's fine. You know, if you're just interested in one thing, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if it's not who you are, then why would you be that way? And it was almost like I was shutting out pieces of myself, trying to select just one thing. And I'd find myself like missing the other things. Like, I think we talked a little bit about this before. Like, when it came to languages, I've been so interested in different languages. Like, when I was a kid, I learned Spanish like a little bit just because it's common, you know, growing up in California, honestly, anywhere in the States. Like,
Yeah.
Spanish is just a good thing to know.
Mhm.
But then I started learning Arabic. I was super interested in Arabic in the Middle East, so I spent a little time learning that. I got like when I was like 9 years old, my parents took me to a bookstore and they were like, "What do you want?" And I got Japanese for Dummies. And so I had fun just like looking through my little Japanese language book. And I think I tried learning German and French, and oh my goodness, like all the languages I was super interested in, I couldn't just pick one to learn. So I think probably language and culture were the things that I was most passionate about, even as a child. I just thought it was so interesting. Like to meet someone from another country was like, I just wanted to know all about it. My move to China was sort of spontaneous. I never had like a deep interest in China. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to learn about China. It just wasn't like the top of my list. You know, it's just
Right.
like, okay. And it was so funny because I had a lot of friends actually learning Chinese, and I just was not into it. I was learning Arabic at the time. They're very different languages. And they're like, just watch this, Style. Like, you're going to be the one that learns Chinese and you're going to move to China. And I was like, why would you even say that? Like, that's so bizarre. Like, I actually wanted to move to the Middle East. Anyways, I love traveling just in general. I had traveled to South America for a few months, and I was in the process of saving up money so that I could go to another place. And I was open. I was like, well, I don't know really want to where I want to go. I'll just see what happens. I was looking into South Africa, the Middle East, and I thought maybe China. I don't even know why it was on my list. list. Anyways, I had a friend who went to visit Shanghai and, travel around a little bit to the other popular tourist destinations. We had a friend that lived there. So he was visiting this friend, and we kept in contact while he was there, and he was like, it's a really cool place. You should go check it out. Like, I also didn't want to live in Sonoma anymore. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
there's not a lot to do. It's like nice to go. If your family lives there, that's great. Go visit, have some wine. But I knew I wanted to live somewhere else. So he was like, it's really cool. Go check it out. You could probably find a decent job there fairly easily. You'll still have time for yourself. You can have a good quality of life for, just a normal job. So I was like, okay, well, why not go check it out? And, if I like
How
it,
old
great.
were you again?
So when I went and checked it out, I was almost 21 when I went
Mhm.
just to visit. So I visited
Right.
first, and I thought, even if I don't want to move here, like, it still sounds like a cool place and I want to see it. So why don't I go? So I went there for a month because I want to meet the real people there. Like, I don't
Yes.
just want to go and like hop on a tour bus or whatever. Like, I want to see the place. So I went for a while, and it was just so interesting. Like, I felt so free there. Like, I felt like I could do whatever I wanted. It was just like a different way of living. Things were exciting every single day, and I loved the people there. So it's a very international place. And I think
Yeah.
that's, you can kind of see the correlation there. Like, I'm interested in different languages and different cultures, and going to Shanghai, I got to meet people from all over the world.
Mhm.
So that really drew me there. I was like, wow, I could learn about all of that right here and interact with those people every day. So that pulled me there. So after my trip, I went home, saved up a little bit more, and moved. And once I got there, I found a job, and I was planning on staying for just a year, and I stayed for 6.
My goodness.
Yeah, and I would still be there. So my husband and I said we came back in early 2020. We were actually visiting family at that time, and the borders closed. So we were just never able to go back. So we'd still be there if it wasn't for like recent
Yeah.
life events. But my passion for different languages and cultures and people from all over the world turned
That
into that.
that is so fascinating. And
Yeah.
so you say you came back and saved up a little bit of money so that you can go back to Shanghai. Did you have a job lined up or anything like that before? Or you just like, okay, I'm going. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah. I think I just didn't think a lot about it. I was just like, to be honest, I think if I knew now, if I had what I knew now, I'd be like scared, be like, how am I going to get a visa? But I was just like, I'll just get a visa. Like,
Yeah.
like it's some simple process. It's
That's
not. So I knew there would be some things that I'd have to figure out, but I just didn't think about it a lot. I thought like, well, I went there and I saw people from all over the world there, so why wouldn't I be able to go there too? It can't be that hard.
Mhm.
If it's what you want, you just do it.
Yeah.
Um
Okay, I want to talk about more of that belief system. So you obviously had really strong belief in yourself, being able to find the resources that you need, being able to create your own path. So what would you say the strong foundation that led you to make all those decisions and explore all the things?
Yeah, well, I think my parents have definitely been supportive of me, just like always wanting to try new things. Like, I was like, I want to learn this instrument now, and I want to take that dance class, and now I'm going to buy this Japanese book. And they were
Yeah.
just kind of like, okay, like, let's do all of it. You want to do that? Okay, now you want to do this. Like, that told me from a young age it was okay to try new things whenever I wanted to. I don't
Mm,
have to
I
hold
love it.
back in that way. So that was really nice. I think that's definitely a big piece of it. But I also think it's my personality. Like, it's not that I'm not ever nervous or I don't ever have fear. I was actually trying to figure out why I'm like that the other day. And I thought maybe it's this logical side of me where it's like, those are feelings.
Mhm.
Like, fear is a feeling, nervousness is a feeling, and it doesn't necessarily correlate to reality. So why would you let nervousness, like it's just so silly, like, oh, you're just nervous so you're not going to do it?
Mhm.
Why would you like not do something that you want to do? Like, you still want it,
Mhm.
and you'll get over it because
Yep.
you'll get what you want.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's like my logical side. I'm not sure if that's quite it, but
Yeah.
that is kind of my thought process, where if something feels fearful, I don't mean like fear like, oh no, I'm gonna fall off a cliff kind of fear,
Right.
like
Those
a
are different.
fear. Yeah, totally different. But I actually, one of my friends, she's a life coach, and she was talking to me about this the other day. And she said, if you're feeling fear, it probably means you're either one, you are doing something really cool, or you're about to do something really cool. So
Yes.
when I feel those, I'm like, ooh, this is really exciting. It's almost like an excitement rather than a fear. Some people might translate it as like, I don't know about that. And I'm just like, ooh, I want that.
Yeah, that is so powerful because it is true. And I 100% believe that things that you just mentioned, the fear versus danger are two different things. So we have to, like,
Mhm.
once we get into the habit of recognizing those differences, it kind of changes our perspective too. And once you notice that fear is actually the growth point where there is a growth, so that is like intersection of the life meets your inspiration by your action. So I love all of this. So for me, learning is my guilty pleasure. I love learning. I am similar to you. I have an inspiration like all of a sudden just popped in my head, then I would be like digging into studying all this thing. And then also, I don't really care about being the master of that. Like, I want to know what I needed to learn, and then I kind of move on, and I have no problem. So, first, two things. I want to know all the things that you're personally and professionally involved with. And second, how did you like how do you go about it? Like when you find those like a multiple passion
Yeah. So I just listening to you talk right now about how you feel like you just want to learn a little bit of everything. You don't feel like you need to be the master
or
to an
certain things.
yeah. So to an extent, I feel like that. Like I don't feel the need to master every single little thing, but also my personality, like I'm not sure if you're familiar with like different personality types. With the 16 personality types, I'm an ENTJ, so I'm very controlling leader. Like I'm
Yeah,
a natural born leader. I want to be at the top.
amazing.
And then I'm also an Enneagram 8. So I'm not
I
saying this
see.
to put myself in a box or anyone else, but to just give people like an idea of my personality. So I do like to be the master in something. So that is like this internal struggle that I feel where it's like I want to learn everything, but I also want to master something. So currently I'm learning Mandarin. And prior to moving to Shanghai, I did not learn Mandarin. I learned a few things when I went there. I learned hello, goodbye, I want this. No, I don't want it. So like, and then how to give directions to a taxi driver. That's all I
Very
knew.
important.
Yeah, the important stuff. Oh, like where's the bathroom? I learned those things, but coming back here, I learned quite a bit while I was there. Like I had to for everyday life, but moving back here, I thought that would be such a shame if I was to learn this. Like I currently like my Mandarin level was higher than any other language I had tried to learn before. So I thought I'm going to go with this. And it's also a way for me to stay connected
Yeah,
to that piece of myself. So I'm trying to master this language.
I love it.
It might take me 10 more years or more. I don't know, but I want to be like fluent. Like I would
Mhm.
to be able to like write an essay in this language. That's how good I want to be at it. Other things in life, I don't feel like I need to be the master of all the time, but for some reason I'm really pulled to language. You can see like that's a
Yeah.
recurring thing.
Mhm.
I am so professionally, I am a personal trainer and life coach. So I don't feel like I need to know everything in these areas. And honestly, I don't think anyone does. And I don't think we ever will. I think this is something that we can immerse ourselves in and just be blown away and fascinated by how cool our bodies are and how rich life can possibly be. I don't think that our potential has limits. I think that each person is limitless. And instead of seeing that as oh no, I'll never reach my goal or I'll never reach my full potential, it's like, no, you'll always have a higher potential. It's almost like something that can inspire you to keep going, keep growing and learning. So professionally, that's kind of how I see those. Those are probably the top things that I spend my time learning about. In addition to Mandarin, I'm super interested in the history of the country, ancient and modern. Those are just things I learned like for fun. Like I'm reading a book on this Empress Cixi, and she was like the last empress of imperialist China. So I'm reading about that and just like having fun doing these things.
My goodness. So in terms of the language, so I'm originally from Seoul, South Korea. I self-taught my English. They teach at school, but they teach not conversational language. So I was always like in the high school, I don't understand what are they trying to do here. Anyways, in terms of English, so I had this desire that I wanted to speak fluently. And I wanted to be able to write all I want. At the time, I loved writing. I loved writing poems, and I loved how my language brought this like a feeling of expression, and I wanted to do that in English.
And, it took a little bit of time and then like, me really committing to it. There is a certain area that I want to be extremely good at. And then I studied like cognitive behavioral therapy for fun because I wanted to use that towards my own personal life. But the other way, like project management, event planning, all those things that I've done professionally, I wanted to be extremely good at. So I would invest my time and energy to bring
Mm,
them up to a certain level that I'm satisfied. So
mm,
that's a little bit of like shifting from what you were teaching English there, obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I taught
So,
kindergarten. I taught a variety of grades, but the majority of it and towards the end, it was just kindergarten.
yeah. What was the pivotal moment or what led you to decide on investing your time and energy and passion towards this?
Towards like personal
To help.
training and
Yes.
fitness. Oh, I feel like this was actually a lifetime in the making. I grew up kind of around the fitness industry. Like I had family members who were in it, friends who taught classes, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't say I always felt comfortable in a gym setting, but I understood the gym
Hmm.
setting, if that makes sense. So I kind of had that barrier eliminated. But I think probably almost everyone can relate to this. We often associate the gym or the weight room to athletes,
Hmm.
people who are super fit or people who are thin. And we feel like, well, if I'm not one of those three categories, why would I be in there? Like, I'm just going to feel weird and awkward. And that's how I felt too. Even though I was so interested in it, I was actually nervous to go in there.
Hmm.
Now, the difference is that here my personality came to play, and I'm like, nervousness is a feeling. Like, why are you like, you're just not going to go in there,
Right.
Estelle? Like, you're just
Hmm.
not going to do that, really? So I would. And I think that my personality having that as a piece of it is a major contributor to why I got into it, because I didn't let that fear stop me. It
Hmm.
was just this feeling holding me back, and I actually felt more excited about the potential that it held. I exercised off and on here and there, even after I moved to Shanghai. So, a little thing that changed is when I did start teaching, being multi-passionate, I was like, oh, this is so interesting. I actually I identify as a teacher, not necessarily an English teacher, but just someone who teaches, someone who guides. So I really enjoyed my work, and kids are so special. I thought I need to pour into them everything that I have, and I left very little for me. Like I didn't spend any energy, honestly, on my health at all. Like I didn't pay attention to what I ate. I hardly ever exercise. I'd walk around. Like you have to be active to live in Shanghai, unless you can hire like a driver the whole time. So I was active in that way, but I didn't really work out, and I drank when I wanted to drink, and I ate whatever I wanted when I wanted to. So my health really, you could say, just got flushed down the toilet. I was not healthy. It wasn't like I like gained weight and felt uncomfortable. I was honestly sick all the time. Like I was not a healthy person. And it was like I had forgotten about that piece of me. I shouldn't even say forgotten. Like I knew it was there, but this was coming out of me like, you need to pick something, Estelle. You
Hmm.
can't do all the things. You just need to pick something. So I was like, okay, education seems to make sense for me right now. I'm going to pour my time and energy into that. But, after being sick all the time, I thought, okay, this is not working. And I kind of took things to the other extreme where I was like not eating enough. I really didn't understand what my body needed. I was just cutting calories. I wasn't really nourishing it. I wasn't doing the proper thing. I was exercising way too much. So I kind of took what I thought was health and I turned it into this extreme thing where I was actually depriving myself.
Hmm.
And that led to other health issues. So going through this process is something that I think a lot of women struggle with. And I see it happening like almost every single day. I read, I hear, I see women struggling with the same thing that I have gone through. And I don't think that balance is something that's ever achieved. I think it's kind of elusive, kind of like how our potential, we're always striving for a higher potential. But through this experience is what made me want to help women who have been in my shoes so that, yes, you can understand how to nourish your body, not just nourish it, because food is more than nourishment. Actually, like enjoy your food and have a healthy relationship with it. And you can have a healthy relationship with exercise too. Like it doesn't just need to be for weight loss, it can be to respect your body, it can be to feel empowered, to feel confident, to like expand your potential. So, those things, I guess that's a little mini story of what led me to be passionate about what I'm doing. today professionally.
I love the how you turn your pain into your passion and making it. Obviously, I've seen your Instagram, you're thriving. So obviously having passion is really important. And I really want to support all of that. One of the things that I believe is that we constantly honing in our skills to become passionate and to be utilizing that power and gifts that we're given. What is your way of tackling your goals and actually making it happen now? Like, what's your ritual, commitment, and belief system that supports you?
Yeah. So I actually joined a goal setting workshop at the beginning of the year. I wanted a little bit of accountability. Like, I'm a very self motivated, driven person, but I was like, yeah, I need this. I need this for myself. And I noticed something super interesting is, how there's outcome goals and process goals, the goals where it's like, I'm going to run 10 miles or whatever. And then the process would be, I'm going to increase my run by half a mile every week, something like that.
Mhm.
And looking back, I actually used to set like so many outcome goals and rarely focus on the process. I would just like try to get to the outcome as fast as I possibly could. And it would be this really unsustainable way of doing things. And I would easily fall off track. And what else I realized during this workshop was that I almost never set outcome goals anymore. It's like a wake up call for me. I was like, Estelle, why don't you have any outcome goals? And I think it's like I was traumatized from never reaching them because I wouldn't stick to it. So I just like, forget it. I'm not going to have an outcome and I'm just going to set process goals. So it's not to say
Mm.
that outcome goals aren't good. I do think that they can be very motivating, but it's more important to focus on the process to those goals. And that's something that often gets forgotten is
Mm.
that when you have this outcome that you want to achieve, how are you going to even reach that? You're going to reach that with the little mini goals that you set along the way, those things that are a process to bring you to that outcome. It's kind of like if we don't have a process for our goals to reach our goal, it would be like saying, I'm going to drive, let's say you live in Southern California, you're going to drive to Maine. Like, but you don't have a map and you don't have a car. You're like, how are you going to do that? You actually need to understand the route to get there. It's great that you want to go to Maine, but how are you going to get there? So being realistic with how much time we have and what we can do on a daily basis, weekly basis, those kind of things. So you can see behind me my little sticky notes on my wall. Those are all my flashcards.
Mm.
So traditionally, I might have them on we'd have them on an index card and you kind of flip through them. I realize that doesn't work for me. What works for me? I'm going to go look at those when I'm drinking my coffee. I'm just, whenever I need a little break from my work, I'm going to stand up, stretch, and I'm going to look at my words on the wall, and try to review those in my head, make some sentences. So, something, I guess, to answer your question, it's just being aware of what works for me. So, yes, like we get lots of great ideas from watching YouTube videos and on Instagram, and those are things that work for other people and they might work for us. So, give them a shot, see if they work. But if they don't, if these things aren't working, why? Think about why is it not working and how can you adjust it? So in my morning routine, that's when I'm most creative and I want to spend time thinking for myself. I have a container thing like
Mhm.
under my coffee table, and it includes all of my study materials, not just for Mandarin, but other things that I'm interested in too. And keeping those things there, keeping them right there, because that's where I sit in the mornings. I like to sit on my couch and drink my coffee. So having them easily accessible so that I can always go back to them has made it a sustainable process for me because it works for my environment, not what I think my environment should be or what someone else's environment is. So it works for them. It's literally looking at what works for my life. And that can change. But I think that constant awareness being key, can help us figure out what methods will work for us.
I love the being aware of what works for me. What I found to be the truth is that we never really pay attention to what actually works for us. Like, what is our way? What is my way? So, like, now I know how to work myself, like, the best that
Mm.
it can be. It's seamless, it's effortless, it's easy. Whereas if I were to follow anyone's structure, this is the way that that person got successful, but it doesn't have to be everyone's. And you having to find your own way, really focusing on setting the ritual, putting that box where I'm always at in the morning. So, yeah, that is just so powerful.
Yeah. And I think also what you said, like thinking about a structure. And you could also think about like the 9 to 5 time.
Yep.
And being a business owner, I think, okay, 9 o'clock, I need to start work, and 5 o'clock, I need to end work. And I think lots of people could probably relate to that feeling too, but it doesn't have to be like that.
Mhm.
Now, if that works for you, do it. But for a lot of people, it doesn't. And you don't need to feel bad if you want to work at 8 o'clock in the evening. If that's when works for you, do it. And if you're not feeling creative and productive, or you feel like you need to spend time on yourself rather than your work at 9 o'clock in the morning, do it. Do what you need to
Exactly.
do, because I honestly think like if you're doing something that you love, you're going to make time for it and it's going to work. You just need to do it when your body's telling you to do so.
Exactly. As long as you produce what you promised to, it doesn't matter if you work at 11 p.m. My brain works so much more active at night, so I'm more creative. So in the morning, I don't do anything. Like I literally don't do anything. That is my nourishment time. That is when I do my gratitude practice. I read and I consume positive interviews. I consume information so that I am ready for the day. So it's so powerful to understand how we work like individually, and then adapt the tools and whatever the resources that we need versus just blindly following the path. I love it.
Yeah. In my work with clients, so not personal training clients, but I do more so like lifestyle coaching as well. And people who just kind of feel like stuck. And it does involve workouts and things like that and nutrition, but it's also like, I don't feel like my lifestyle is working for me. Like I don't have enough time for myself, and more like self-care practices. Almost every single person I've worked with, they do better when they have a whole morning to themselves. Like you wake up and this time is for you until like 11 or 12. Not that you can't like respond to messages if you have to do that, but your focus is you. Like you can take time having your breakfast, you can go on a walk or a hike, and you can clean up the house, and you can just prepare your mind for what you're going to do later that day. And then you just work until like, I don't know, whenever you feel like it, or you take breaks. And mornings, I feel like are supposed to be like for us as individuals. Like we have to fill our cup first. People commenting on things like, or even like how I'm naturally like a very driven and want to be productive and do the right thing kind of person. Like, oh, it's so great that you're so driven and that you're such a go-getter, you're a doer. Whereas actually I need to take more time for myself. So it's almost like it's been told to me like, no, do these things that aren't good for you. Ignore this time that you actually need to take for yourself. Yeah, I think it all goes back to not comparing to what other people are doing. Even, people don't always they mean well. They're not trying to like, when they're saying like, oh, you eat slow, they're not trying to be mean, or, they're trying to compliment me when they say you're a go-getter and you're always doing things. And that's nice, but actually the feedback that it has in our brain hasn't really supported us becoming the people that we want to be. It's kind of counteracting that.
So powerful. What is one simple action you would recommend people do to really embrace their multi-passionate superpower?
Ooh, that's a good question. This is something I've recently given myself more permission to do, and it's just to try things. Just try things. Like if you, okay, it might sound like so dumb, but
No, it
like,
doesn't.
I mean, like, just like I took a kung fu class the other day. I was like, and honestly, I showed up. I was the oldest person there. It was like a bunch of like
Oh,
10
really?
to 15-year-olds. And then there was like me and maybe a few girls that were like in their late teens. Like I was at least by 10 years the oldest person there. And it was so fun. And maybe I'll go do another one. I don't know. But like I would always wonder if I should go do that more. Or like if you feel like drawn to go do something or try something, go do it. Like there's I feel like I'm really being drawn to like childish things lately. Like there's this alpaca farm close to where we live. And then I went there, and my husband and he probably wouldn't have gone without me, but we were the oldest people there. It was like parents and their kids, like little kids. And I didn't even realize it until like after the whole, like we got to feed the alpacas, and I was washing my hands, and I talked to this mom. I didn't even think she's a mom. I was just like, hey, where are you guys from? And she's like, we always like to bring our kids here. And I was like, oh. And it was only in that moment that I realized like, oh, I'm the adult here that came just to see the alpacas. And, like I want to go ice skating, and I want to go to like this jumpy bounce house thing. And just if you feel pulled to go do something, there's nothing wrong with it. just go do it and have fun. And maybe that'll turn into something else, or maybe it'll teach you that you want to try another new thing.
Yes, when we were in Maui just a couple months ago, my husband was like, "Hey, like, let's take hula dance class," and it's
That's so cute.
I know, we were just like, "Let's take it." And then once we take it, I took the video and then I posted on my personal Instagram. And everyone, whoever I talked to, my friends, like they all talk about it. And they were like, "That's so amazing you guys did that." I mean, it's not that we're like now professional. It's that we just enjoy things. It doesn't matter what other people think about it, right? It's
Yeah.
like
And I think that people do like it. A lot of people do like it. Like everyone was like, that's so cool. They probably think it's cool because they want to do it too. But maybe
yeah,
they're just shy, or they're like, oh, kids, that's just what kids would do.
right?
Or it kind of shuts down right there instead of thinking or not thinking
Yeah.
and just going and doing it because you feel like you want to. And I think if everyone listened to that inner voice that they had, like, I want to try the hula dancing class, or I'm going to go do the kung fu class with all the 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
No one's stopping you, and it's going to be fun. So go
And
do it.
yeah, and it's like the experience part that is what makes the life worth it, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you supposed to be doing right now? Learning and growing and experiencing, living. So do it.
Yes, awesome. Okay, I have one last question, but before, tell us where people can find you and any other exciting projects going on, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So the best way to contact me is through Instagram. My handle is Estelle C Fitness. So my name, Estelle, C for my middle name, Christine, and then the word fitness. That's my handle. That's going to be the best way where you can kind of see what I'm up to. Please, you're welcome to send me a message if you just want to connect and chat, or you can just like spy on me, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I do personal training and lifestyle coaching. You can find details on that probably in the link in my bio or on my website, estellecfitness.com. But I'm also currently working on this incredible, it's going to be a nearly 1 year program. You don't have to do the whole year. I'm making it available month to month or yearly to basically empower women to either get into the gym or start lifting at home, but basically teach them those foundations. Because
Mhm.
something that people don't often realize is that lifting is a skill and it can be intimidating. It's not as simple as just like, walking into the gym or signing up for, this program that tells you what exercises to do. There are more details that go into it, but it can be so fun and interesting, and it's all going to be community based. So I'll just leave it at there. If people want to learn about it, they can find me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that you make it sound so exciting because like I never thought of it. I'm like, but I want to check it out. So
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, so my final question for you is what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, I was thinking about this actually the other day. I think it would be to trust myself. I'm a very intuitive person, and I honestly think that everyone is intuitive, but as we get older, it's suppressed, or we're taught
Mhm.
not to use that intuition as much, or we're judged for using that intuition, doing things that quote don't make sense. But anytime I've ignored that, it's only led to me being hurt and confused. So it would just be to like listen to that inside of me. Like if my body has a negative reaction or bad feeling to something, listen to that, do that. Because every time I've listened to that feeling, things go really well. And I feel so much happier and better and at peace. So it would just be to not ignore that innate wisdom that we're born with.
Powerful. Thank you so much, Estelle. This was such a fun talking with you, and I feel like we could talk forever. I can't wait to see you thriving and continue rising up. And thank you for being the inspiration today, and keep going.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It really means a lot to me.
That wraps up this episode, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. If this story served you in any way, I'd love for you to leave your review on this podcast. Don't forget to connect with me on my Instagram, Multipassionate Genius. And if you have a story to share, I would love to feature you here. So send me a message on my Instagram. Lastly, no matter what, I believe in you and I'm rooting for you. So go out there and create the life you want.